What up, Lakers fans? D-Mac here, and we're coming at you live with a breaking news, an emergency video. We got some big news to get into, fellas. My name is Doug McCain. Of course, to my left is Noah Cameras. Follow him at Noah Cameras. To my right, Mr. Noel Sanchez. Follow him at Noise by Noel. Got some special guests today, Mr. Gary Lee and Jail in the Cut. He's got some strong CP3 opinions, and of course, producer Cody always in the mix. But let's dive right into this. So the Phoenix Suns have informed Chris Paul that he will be waived, which will allow CP3 to become a free agent this offseason. Sources tell Chris Haynes of Bleacher Report. Now, the Suns have until late June to waive Paul with only $15.8 million of his $30.8 million salary next season guaranteed. Of course, he's dealt with injuries, but we're talking about the possibility of getting CP3 on a league minimum. I know somewhere David Stern is rolling over in his grave. But Noah, I'm going to go to you. Just what's your initial reaction? We'll get into the possibility of him with the Lakers. Just what is your initial thoughts on this news?
Crazy. I mean, we did know that there was a potential situation where the Suns tried to get rid of Chris Paul, also maybe try to get rid of DeAndre Ayton. I mean, that we can get to that later, but it is crazy to see that they're actually going through with waiving Chris Paul, 12-time All-Star, future Hall of Famer. I mean, one of the best point guards of all time. Obviously hasn't really worked out in Phoenix with injuries in the postseason. He missed the end of this past year postseason. They ended up losing to the Nuggets. So it's just crazy that this actually happened. That we had a feeling they were going to try to trade him maybe at some point like that. But I mean, Chris Paul will be a free agent. He's going to sign with a contender. So
crazy,
huge news to drop. All I'm going to say is Mike Malone has to be pissed off right now that for the second straight day, the headlines are not on the Nuggets and Heat finals. I mean, this is awesome. This is awesome.
Lakers continue to hijack storylines now. Noel, what are your thoughts? CP3.
Wow. I mean, we were just chilling here, just having a normal day in the office, and I look at my phone, and Chris Haynes, of all people, breaks the news. Crazy, crazy. I mean, this is the point guard we're talking about. This is someone that has one of the highest basketball IQs ever. One of the biggest hearts ever in the game, and he just knows the game better than anybody else right now. And I think when you look at what his career has become, it's really wild to see. I mean, he was in Houston with James Harden. They had those teams that took the Warriors to the brink, and then he went to OKC, had a little year where he just kind of developed Shea and tried to get his name back out there. And then he went back to Phoenix and kind of changed that whole culture. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy to think that after some failed seasons that just included one finals appearance, it's already over, and they're going to be looking to go in a different direction. They obviously traded their entire bench for KD. They fired Monty Williams and brought in one of our own in Frank Vogel. So crazy. I mean,
what's going on in Phoenix right now?
The
NBA
is
insane.
NBA is a cold world. NBA is a cold world, and it does almost feel like they chose DeAndre Ayton over Chris Paul. The new owner wants a complete culture change. He is cleaning house. Just the Order 66 out in Phoenix, and it's very interesting to see what they're going to do. So, CP3. Look, I think the first thing, we're going to get to you, Gary, and Cody, what your thoughts as well. We're not talking about 2011 Chris Paul. We're not talking about the Chris Paul that was originally supposed to be a Laker, where Dan Gilbert and the rest of the NBA was crying, going to their phones, complaining that the Lakers were too powerful. This is 2023 Chris Paul. His numbers have dropped off. He's not the same point guard as we see in the past. And then you add the fact that he has been injury prone. He hasn't been able to stay healthy in the playoffs. But Gary, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's a good decision if he's willing to sign with the Lakers? Is this a no-brainer move that the rest of the internet is making out to be? Or do you think there's more thought to it?
I mean, I think it's an absolute horrible decision if they decide to bring back Chris Paul. I'm just not a fan of just sitting in purgatory for the next 3 years with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who Anthony Davis plays probably less than Chris Paul does, And even if he does show up on the court, he doesn't really show up on the court. We saw this in the finals, or not the finals, the playoffs. We saw this during the season. I got ripped for calling him street clothes along with, following Charles Barkley, but I just don't like players. And maybe I'm spoiled by, the legacy of Kobe Bryant, the person who comes to work every day, the whole Michael Jordan belief of, there's that one person who saved up all his money to come and watch this game, and I got to be there. And then I don't respect Anthony Davis for not showing up and earning that much money. Yeah. He doesn't even do anything for the community. What does he do? And then there's LeBron James. He that's cool. He's good, right? But then you bring in Chris Paul. What's he want? Another Farmers Insurance commercial deal? Is that why he's back in LA? Once he got to LA, he got all his commercial deals. Probably time for him to renew right now. That's the only reason he's here. That you would bring him back. And I just think that he's not going to show up in the playoffs. He might be, like we were talking about, Buddy over here said Steve Nash 2.0. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. He's going to get a knee injury and then turn into a coach, and then complete waste of a roster space. And plus, we said it's going to slow down the possible growth of Austin Reeves if we can re-sign him?
Yeah, I think there's a couple. I think you bring up a lot of valid points.
Yeah.
I think at this stage of his career, he's different. I mean, you really always idealize legends like Chris Paul. You always think you're going to get the prime version of him. Look, he is a BMW. It has 170,000 miles on and then check engine lights
Needs
on,
a lot
right?
of maintenance.
And needs a lot of maintenance. And he's just not the same guy. But on the flip side, we're talking about a vet minimum deal. Yeah. This is a no-brainer. You sign him every single day of the week. This is Chris Paul. This team needs a point guard. They need a ball handler. And also, too, with Austin Reeves, I think you could spin it as a positive. And then, hey, we get you 40, 50 games in the regular season and try to preserve you for a one last banana boat ride through the postseason, win a championship, bring back Melo. Maybe he rethinks this.
Get him out of retirement.
Yeah, but look, I mean, his injury track record really speaks for himself. And I mean, look, the reality is if he doesn't get hurt with the right shoulder, with the hamstring back in 2018, he's an NBA champion right now. That's the reality. He has played well in the postseason when healthy. He just had a lot of bad luck. I mean, with the Clippers, of course, he had the toe injury. I think it's just a matter of keeping him healthy. Yeah. But I'm out of vet minimum. You don't even think twice. This is like reaching in your pocket and you reach around, you feel like you find $10,000 in there, okay? I mean, this is like found money on the biggest level. So I don't even think it's a question. If you was willing to sign with the Lakers on a vet minimum deal, you do it every single day of the week.
Yeah, I'm totally with you in the fact that we knew they were going to have to fill this roster with vet minimums at some point because they're not going to have the space to just bring on them. And they'll have like an MLE here. I think they have a 12 million something or other. But at some point, they're going to have to get some vet minimums. And to say that you can get a 12-time All-Star, people call him the point god for a reason. You can get this guy on a vet minimum to start some games in the regular season. Yeah, he'll take some injury time off. But if you can get him somewhat healthy going into the postseason, and imagine if the Lakers had Chris Paul running the show during this postseason run. Imagine if it was Chris Paul instead of D'Angelo Russell, who kind of falls asleep in the playoffs. I mean, to have that kind of basketball mind on the court, and LeBron has said he wanted to play with him in his career. It hasn't happened yet. This is a perfect time for them to get to play together, have a true point guard next to LeBron, a true point guard next to Anthony Davis. I mean, those pick and rolls are going to be fun. And yeah, I mean, I do understand the point that Gary makes of kind of stunting Austin Reeves' growth. But I'm in the boat that, I mean, think about what he can learn as a ball handler and game manager from Chris Paul. I mean, this is one of the best basketball minds ever. So to have Austin Reeves sit with him in practice and just watch how he navigates an offense, I think it's only going to elevate Austin Reeves' game. I'm with Doug. No brainer if you can get a vet minimum 12-time All-Star who, yeah, he's not the same player, but when he was playing in the regular season, his numbers were still there. So I mean, please bring him to LA.
Yeah, and his numbers, they have declined. There's no question about it. But I think something that's overblown, yes, the injuries are there, and yes, it is a gamble, but not at a vet minimum. I mean, there's no such thing as a bad one-year contract or a vet minimum contract. But also, too, it's not like he chose to get injured. It's not like he was out there rolling his ankle and wanting to be injured. When he's competing in the playoffs, he's performed very well, averaging 20 points a game, 8.3 assists on
that would have been
48% shooting. If he puts up numbers anything close to that, Lakers could possibly be playing the Heat right now in the NBA Finals. But let's talk about the case against him. I mean, you have some thoughts? You want to go a different direction, or you think maybe, hey, Chris Paul's not that guy?
I mean, yeah, one of the biggest things that we're bringing up here is him being our starting point guard. But I just think the biggest thing here is the age. We've already seen the Lakers bring in older guys. We've had the likes of, I mean, so many points where we're trying to go older, and instead I think that we should be sticking with more of a youth group. We saw the success that we had this season after the trade deadline, going a lot younger, getting these versatile guys. And like you said, at this point in his career, he has 170,000 miles. And yes, from a financial standpoint, it's not going to hurt us, which should be the case, because I don't want to see him get a 3-year deal for anything more than what he should be getting. And then, yeah, so I'm looking at it from that standpoint. I'm also thinking that, yes, he obviously performs in the playoffs, but I mean, the injury bug at this point, it's not going to be anything that is on his hands. You know, injuries are going to happen, and he's broken down. And I mean, we saw LeBron James at his own age, being the superhuman that he is, still sustain that big foot injury. So, I mean, one bad thing happening to Chris Paul, and there goes our starting point guard. I'm not sure if it's going to be a case if we can keep D'Angelo Russell. Probably not, because D'Lo isn't going to want to come off the bench.
Maybe a 2-guard? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But then, like Gary said, that could stunt the growth of Austin Reeves. I think if we're going to pay Austin Reeves $100 million around there, we're going to want him to be playing as much as he can and get as many touches. So, I mean, I think we should stick with our youth group. Chris Paul is still, he has the resume that he has, but I just think it's going to be more of a risk than anything. And just outside of the money, I'm talking about fit, I'm talking about rotation, and I'm talking about LeBron James has 2 years left in LA if he chooses to stay. And I mean, if Chris Paul gets hurt, that's going to really mess up a lot of things.
If he gets hurt and you're on a vet minimum, I don't really see what the downside is.
Like it's okay. That's a
But
bummer.
are we keeping? The thing is, will we keep D'Lo with him?
I mean, contractually, if you're going to operate as an
can.
over-the-cap team, you absolutely could. But I think with Chris Paul, it's just a matter of he has already said. I think Chris Haynes on the tweet underneath
he
it
said
said
he wants
to play multiple years too.
He said he wants to play a few more years and play for a contender, obviously. Which I mean, that brings to mind obviously the Lakers. The Celtics could be an option. I don't know. Maybe
back to the Clippers.
I mean, the Clippers could be. Maybe the Bucks could be an option. But how I think of it is, I'm like Doug saying, the vet minimum. There's no risk. And like, here's the thing. I think of Russell Westbrook. If Russell Westbrook was not on a $47 million contract, I don't think Laker fans would have hated him as much as he did.
No, 100%.
But the fact that he was taking up a third of the cap all by himself and was playing the way he was, kind of hurting them in games, it hurts. So Chris Paul, if he was coming in on his 30-something, if they were trading for him on that $30 million contract, the expectations are different because now he's taking up a third of the cap. But when you're getting him on a vet minimum, it's like you can't hurt the team. And Chris Paul's not going to hurt a team because of the way he plays. He's a great game manager. He's a great ball handler. He's still a good shooter from like that mid-range spot. He's going to find his guys, and he's a great leader. I mean, people have had issues with him as a teammate in the past. Not going to have any issues on a LeBron James-led team. So those are all the positives. And what's the negative? He might get hurt. Okay, if he gets hurt, you're missing that vet minimum spot that could have been filled by someone who wouldn't have played anyway. And if he doesn't get hurt, you're now having a future Hall of Fame point guard who may not have the body that he used to have, but he still has the mind he used to have.
No, yeah.
So,
My only worry.
You got defensive issues.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Major
Yeah,
defense.
you were talking about the 2-guard with him and D'Angelo Russell.
that's not gonna happen.
That would
That's
be,
not gonna
Yeah,
happen.
so that's what I'm saying. Like
D'Angelo Russell's unplayable. He's not playable in a deep in the Western Conference Finals. In a conference finals, he is a cone. They literally made memes on Twitter of a cone with
Paul
his
can't
face
defend
on
at
it.
At 38 years old, he's not checking a
There's
Jamal
no way.
Murray or
But
Steph
still,
Curry
he
in the
still has a chance to be a net positive as far as the floor general, as far as scoring, as far as he's not going to fall off the face of the earth like D'Angelo Russell
Chris Paul
did.
would never do what D'Angelo Russell did in a playoff. The only way it'd be quote unquote worse is if he got hurt. But also, if D'Angelo Russell wasn't playing, the Lakers were better. So it's really just like it's the same thing.
Wait, how many playoff runs has he had where he didn't injure out?
Yeah, but also he was tasked with so much
No,
more. I mean, when
he was healthy, he performs.
Yeah,
and
okay,
he
when
makes
he was
shots.
with
So go with that argument. You're saying he tasked so much more. He's old now. I'm old. I know when you get tasked with so much more, your body's going to break down. He's not going to be able to carry
Yeah, but
this.
he's not going to have to carry this Lakers team the same way he had to carry. I mean, he was the reason the Clippers were the Clippers. I mean, he was them.
59 games last season. Then you got what? You got Chris. Oh no, I'm sorry. Anthony Davis at what? 56 games, and then LeBron was like 50-something games. This staggers out over 82 games. You tell me which games you're going to play, and then at how much when they're going to get chemistry. That's the problem right now, is that Chris Paul is not going to be around enough to develop the chemistry that you guys think he's gonna bring.
No,
I mean, he played 59 games in the regular season, though. He had played 59 games in the regular season, and you
more
saw
than
flashes, 25-point games here. He had a 31-point game. It's not like he's completely washed. And look, I get it. I think you don't want to turn the Lakers into the Lakers retirement home, and that's what it feels like. You have Carmelo Anthony, all these guys using this as their last swan song. But I think the difference is the fact that this is a guy that doesn't rely on his athleticism, okay? This is a guy that he's not a Russell Westbrook or an Allen Iverson. When it's gone because they don't have the shot-making ability and the ball distribution ability, the playmaking ability that Chris Paul has. If you look at his numbers, he's still one of the better point guards when healthy in the league. And like I said, the big kicker in all this is if there was a scenario out there that, let's say, the Lakers wanted to move off of D'Angelo Russell, they wanted to pursue Kyrie Irving, that's a pipe dream, right? There's a scenario where 2 weeks' time we could say, oh, can the Lakers find a way to get a deal done with Chris Paul for more than the vet minimum? And I think a lot of Laker fans would consider that move. So you're talking about pennies on the dollar. I think I think the bigger question here is it a slam dunk for Chris Paul to go to the Lakers? Are the Lakers the destination if he truly is ring chasing? Why wouldn't he want to go to the 76ers if they could try to bring back maybe a James Harden and you have Harden and Chris Paul?
A lot of mouths to feed.
A lot of mouths to feed, but still, I think he's going to embrace whatever role he has. I think you look at the Miami Heat. Let's say they lose this series to the Nuggets and they sell him on you saw Kyle Lowry's role and kind of the next man up mentality. We know Heat culture with the body fat, man. If you're not under like 5%, you're in big trouble, and they're going to try to keep you on the court.
I
think he wants to win. I think he'll do anything at this point.
I don't think the Heat would give him the best chance to. I mean, this is a great run the Heat are on, but it doesn't feel like a sustainable run. The
Timberwolves. I mean, he took an OKC team that was
Timberwolves.
I mean,
How'd he go to the Timberwolves?
think about it. He took an OKC team that wasn't expected to do anything to the playoffs.
But that's because he was on a horrible contract and nobody was going to trade for
of
him.
course, but I'm just saying, if you go to the Timberwolves, a team like that, they still have
I mean,
pieces.
he could, but why wouldn't he just go to like one of the, I mean, here's the thing.
The Celtics. I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
there's
I think you look at the conference finals of this year. You have the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Celtics, and the Heat. I think the Lakers and the Celtics have to be his number 1 and 2 options just because of they're built for success. You know, right now, both those teams are going to need a point guard. And I think those are his best fits. Then Milwaukee's an interesting one too, although Drew Holiday's still there, so I don't think that's a great fit. I mean, you know you love
Spots
Drew
filled.
Holiday.
I mean, Celtics would be. I think
Spots
Celtics is a more ideal fit for him, seeing that they're going to need a true point guard
Yeah,
now
but they
because
need a
Marcus Smart
yeah,
is
and
not cutting it for them anymore. But just the thing with the Lakers, I think it just comes down to: are we going to bank a championship season on a 39-year-old LeBron James and a 38-year-old Chris Paul, and hoping that Anthony Davis can stay
But
healthy
to
the whole
me,
year?
what's the better alternative? Is D'Angelo Russell the alternative?
think D'Angelo Russell's the better-
D'Angelo
I think
Russell's
he's
a
the better
I don't think he's a better alternative.
if they bring back D'Angelo Russell, it's not because they think that he can help them win a championship. If they bring back
just 'cause
D'Angelo
they want the
Russell, it's
asset.
because they want to retain the asset.
Yeah.
They don't want to get Julius Randled like they were a couple
I mean,
years ago.
I personally don't see how bringing back D'Angelo Russell is a better move come postseason time than going with Chris Paul, because obviously it didn't work. I mean, last year the Lakers were healthy. I mean, this was a healthy Lakers team in the playoffs against the Nuggets, and they got swept.
But I mean, it was a trade deadline team, and there was
I mean, yeah, you
LeBron
can give
James
them
was
a whole
hurt.
year, but like D'Angelo Russell has been that guy in the playoffs. He got benched the year before with the Timberwolves. He's now got benched this year with the Lakers. In the regular season, D'Angelo Russell will be a great guy. I mean, he's gonna feed off the energy. He's gonna have a good year. But when the playoffs come and you need that guy, I'm not saying Chris Paul is known to get better in the playoffs. He doesn't disappear. He just gets hurt. So if you can manage his body a little bit better.
No, I get what you're saying, and I would go with that Chris Paul route, but I just know he's obviously gonna want to be a starter, and he should be. He has
Yeah,
the
he will
resume,
be.
he has the friendship with LeBron, but I would be more willing to bring him on if he's accepting a bench role behind D'Lo.
No way. I think for me, I don't look at it that way. I say you bring him on and you look at him with Dennis Schroeder, and you saw what they were able to do in OKC when they were paired up. They were a really good
they were
duo
good.
there.
They were really
so
good.
that's what I would want to
That's
see.
a different Chris Paul too. That's a
Yeah, but
that's a-
also
I think
that's
Chris.
fun.
I think you, to your point though, I think you bring up a really valid point that you definitely need a rebrand. I mean, this is not the Chris Paul
no, it's
of
not gonna
old,
be an
right?
all-star.
He
I
needs to
mean.
improve his shooting and need to commit a little more to defense and kind of get back. I think a 3-point shooting adjustment is something we can see. It's not like a Russell Westbrook where it's completely broken,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're not going to see that, but I definitely think if he comes to the Lakers, it's going to be where he embraces just a different way of doing things, and it's going to be about winning a championship. But I don't think it's a slam dunk. I mean, do you think it's a slam dunk for the Lakers?
I mean, as far as what their options are right now, considering they're going to be hard capped, Kyrie Irving, like you said, is not going to happen. We weren't coming in with much hope of another outside addition. I mean, like the hope for the Lakers this offseason was retain their assets, maybe have a nice draft pick at number 17, and then hope that Max Christie takes a jump, maybe Scottie Pippen Jr. Like, you know, it's all internal. So to get an external upgrade at a vet minimum is, to me, as slam dunk as this offseason could have gone without making a massive trade that involved one of LeBron or AD. I mean, like you cannot have made an external upgrade that's going to be better than Chris Paul without some crazy move, in my opinion. So to be able to retain your assets of Rui and Austin Reeves, maybe D'Angelo Russell, and upgrade your point guard spot with a great player who's going to be better than anything else you're going to get, and still have that $12 million exception to then make another good off-season addition, this is as slam dunk as a vet minimum can get, in my opinion, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, no, I think, look, when you look at it just from 1,000 miles away, you say CP3 on a vet minimum, and you, I think, still re-sign D'Angelo Russell, and then you protect yourself in the event that it's a bust. And I think probably the odd man out is Dennis Schroeder in this case. So, yeah, I mean, I think it would work well, because I think D'Angelo Russell, if you bring him in there, he's going to be a guy that's going to get a lion's share of those minutes. He's going to do a lot of the playmaking. We know, too, in the regular season, he can put up numbers. He can have success. He has proven that throughout his career. It's just the playoffs where he's really struggled. But, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. I think the bigger question is, can they find a way to get him? Will he, like you said, take on a bench role? But, yeah, it would be incredible for this to come full circle and him end up in purple and gold. Do I think that this makes the Lakers the championship frontrunners? I would say no. I still think
But also, they were already there. I mean, they were there this year. I mean, they were up there anyway. So adding Chris Paul is not going to hurt them, in my opinion. Like, it's not going to make them worse. So if they got to a conference finals this year, I mean, yeah, everyone's a year older next year. But I don't know. I feel like this is a move that at least keeps them in championship contention, as opposed to just running it back and hoping that D'Angelo Russell performs next year.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there is a universe where the Lakers almost caught lightning in a bottle, and you look at it and you say, wait a second, we had the best record after the trade deadline. We made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, and that was with a hobbled LeBron James. That was with an Anthony Davis that's guarding centers when he really doesn't want to be. Maybe you look to yourself and say, wait, maybe we don't rock the boat that much. We get a center so Anthony Davis doesn't have to guard centers. He's fresher in the postseason, get LeBron healthy, and you say, maybe we run it back from that standpoint, because Chris Paul, he's not like Russell Westbrook, and he's a terrible fit, but still, for him to have an impact, he does need the ball in his hands. And when the ball's in his hands, it's not LeBron James' hands. It's not Austin Reeves' hands.
We all want the ball out of LeBron's hands a little bit.
Yeah, no, my point, the response I'm doing, though, is to you saying that it can't hurt the Lakers. I'm not saying that to me, there's a universe where he could sign with the Lakers. He sucks the oxygen out of locker rooms.
Exactly.
Chris Paul sucks the oxygen out of locker rooms, and we'll see. Is there chemistry there? I think the respect level between LeBron, Chris Paul, and Anthony Davis, they're friends. They're all friends. I mean, all these guys are.
I'm telling you,
but like the banana boat thing's closer than most NBA players are in terms of friends.
I think it would be a great fit if he was wing tech on the bench role, but I don't see that happening, especially off the jump. And I just think, like I said, if we're going to pay Austin Reeves upwards of $100 million, you want the ball in his hands as much as possible. And you're trying to get the ball to Anthony Davis, who you're hoping can take that torch from LeBron James. And I know Chris Paul is going to be pretty lethal in that pick and roll, but I want to see the young guys get more of the shine versus Chris Paul, who, like you said, is going to need a lot of touches.
I just want to win championships. To me, that's all I care about with the Lakers at this point. To me, it's a bust of a season if you don't raise a banner, if you don't win a Larry OB. And I think there is a world where if he stays fresh, he can help you do that. And he's going to be CP free, essentially, for this team. If he doesn't sign him, Andrew Friedman's going to sign him, put him in the bullpen.
Oh, big Dodgers guy.
Right? Know what? Hey, big Dodgers guy. But
guy.
let us know down below in the comment section. What do you think the Lakers should do? Should they go after Chris Paul? Is it a no-brainer? I want to get your thoughts real quick, though, Mr. Cody Lou, super producer. You can just tell him.
Just yell. Just yell.
I mean, I agree with everything. I don't think they should bring in CP3. That's just because.
Yes,
I
sir.
don't really like CP3.
Ooh.
I understand the process of bringing him in and being a point guard and everything like that. But to me, it's not really. I don't think we really need that. An aging point guard on this team. Go younger. I agree with Gary. Go younger. But Craig Osterberg asked. He said he would help Reeves develop. Do you guys want to talk about that?
I said Craig Osterberg. If you guys can't hear, he said that he thinks CP3
He's
will
like the
help.
Jack Nicholson to our Lakers 24-8.
Yeah, so he thinks that CP3 will help Reeves develop. Doug, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it always depends. I mean, you just never know how the legends embrace young players. I mean, look at the Green Bay Packers. Brett Favre didn't even talk to Aaron Rodgers, essentially, whereas we see some cases where they do embrace it. I think at this level, all these guys, they're elite at what they do. I always call these guys miracles, right? I mean, they truly are statistical miracles to get to this level. So as far as like hands-on helping him, I don't know. I don't think they're totally different players as far as technique, but just absorbing, seeing how he plays his competition level. Because let's be honest, I mean, Chris Paul, at his height, one of the best clutch shot makers, an absolute dog, one of the most fearless pit bulls of players that we've seen. He's a throwback player. He's not soft. And this guy is one of the most competitive players in the league when he's on.
Yeah, I love what you say about the absorbing, but I actually do. I don't know if Craig said he thinks it will help or if he was asking us, but I think it will be help because it's very different. I mean, I like the Brett Favre Aaron Rodgers comparison, but it's so different because Brett Favre, that was his team. Yeah. He was there, and then Aaron Rodgers comes in, the young guy, and you're like, oh, like who's this guy? Like I don't want to help this guy. But Chris Paul is joining a Lakers team that really found something at the end of the trade deadline, post-trade deadline year this year, and they see something with Austin Reeves that's like, this is our guy. This is a potential future of this franchise guy, and Chris Paul is joining it. So it's not like it's not like if Chris Paul was the point guard of the Lakers for 10 years, now they're bringing someone behind him, and now it's like, well, I don't want this guy to take my job. This is Chris Paul coming knowing that if he's here for a year, one of his responsibilities is to mentor these guys because it's not like, I mean, obviously Chris Paul wants to win a championship, but he's joining a team that's already kind of at that championship caliber level. So I think he would be a huge impact because he knows that his role will not only to be play basketball, but also to somewhat mentor these young guys who are already on the, I mean, Austin Reeves won. I think Max Christie too. I mean, Max Christie's a point guard, and he could learn so much from watching one of the best point guards ever.
No, I mean, look, I think when you look at Chris Paul as far as being under his tutelage, I agree with you, it can definitely benefit him. But if he comes to this franchise, he knows he's coming to Austin Reeves' franchise. It's about what Chris Paul can learn from Austin Reeves. No, but in all seriousness, there's the sunk cost fallacy. We go to Gary? What?
Oh, no, you can go ahead. I was just going to say, like, what's his value? Like, I get it. Like, I get Noah's, like, opinion about, like, going after Chris Paul. Yes, he's a 12-time All-Star, but it's what you get. What have you done for me lately kind of person, right? I think you have to answer the question: is he going to be a starting point guard, or is he going to be your point guard for your second team?
Yeah.
Because if he's your point guard for the second team, I think absolutely hold the lead. Good. Keep LeBron and AD fresh for the fourth. You're good. Just don't expect to be in the fourth.
I don't know. I feel like Chris Paul's going to want to play
No,
crunch
that's-
time.
No, I want the ball in LeBron's hand in the fourth.
I don't want the ball in LeBron's
Well,
hand.
him or AD, and Austin Reeves. I feel that combo is better
Yeah.
than Austin Reeves, AD, and LeBron is a better combo than Chris Paul, LeBron, and AD in the.
But
in
Austin
the,
Reeves
in
can
the
be there
clutch.
too. I mean, Austin Reeves. I mean,
But
Austin Reeves.
there's
can
only
play the
one
two.
ball, and you got 3 ball handlers.
I mean,
Yeah.
you arguably saw Austin Reeves play his best basketball when LeBron James was injured. I mean, he stepped it up in the playoffs as well, but that's because LeBron was deferring to him a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think with another point guard on the floor like Chris Paul, who is going to be taking his mid-range shots, who's going to be trying to get, I mean, catch and shoot, like you said, Austin Reeves is great, but if we're going to be paying him that big contract, I want to see what he can do creating by
I mean,
himself.
I understand like the narrative of Chris Paul being this point guard who needs the ball in his hands. He just spent he spent multiple years with Devin Booker, who's an on-the-ball shooter, likes the ball in his hands. And then they got Kevin Durant, and he spent time with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And I mean, the Suns were making it work. Obviously, the injury didn't help, but it's not like he can't play with. I mean, Devin Booker was the best player on that team.
Yeah.
Chris Paul wasn't. When Kevin Durant comes, Chris Paul is the 3rd or 4th best player on that team. And they were still playing well until the injury. So I do agree that Chris Paul's going to want the ball in his hands, but it's not like he hasn't played without the ball in his hands before. I mean, he's done it with the Suns for the last few years.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Like they said, training camp, if it gets done, we'll see what their plan is. We'll see what
Yeah, I mean, this is very fresh.
No,
This
honestly,
just happened.
as much as I don't want it to happen, I do see it happening. Like we were talking about right before
feels
the show.
right.
It just feels like, him getting waived at this time when LeBron James is talking about retirement, when we're looking at the potential contracts for everybody else, bringing in, a freaking experienced point guard like anybody else on a vet minimum. It's going to fit the cap space. It's going to fit being one of LeBron's best friends. So as much as I don't want to happen, it's probably going to happen. So
Yeah,
we're going to have to see.
Personally, I don't think that there's a world where he embraces a role where he's playing 15 or 20 minutes a game because he has the leverage right now. Whatever team signs him, yes, he's going to be taking a discount. He's going to be signing at a discounted rate, but he's going to be guaranteed a role, right?
100%.
And Chris Paul is a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Austin Reeves, he's nowhere near that, okay? I mean, we're talking about a championship run, a last dance
hot take.
type run. So
We'll do a separate video on that one.
Yeah, is Austin Reeves a first
So, yeah, I mean,
ballot?
hey, Chris Paul, come to the Lakers. Come to the Lakers. Come to Lakers, CP3. I'm telling you, that's where it's at.
Sure.
But let us know down below, what are your takes? Do you think the Lakers should sign Chris Paul? Do you think he'll sign with the Lakers? Give us all your Chris Paul takes down below. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. To my left, Mr. Noah Cameras. If you're a Lakers fan, if you're a Dodgers fan, if you're a Padres fan, if you're a 49ers fan,
Respect.
he wears a lot of hats. He writes. He's such a great, prolific writer. Writes for so many
You wear a lot of
sites.
hats too.
Yeah, you had a
that's
Dodger
what Craig
one.
Osterberg says, right? But yeah, no, absolutely go follow him at Noah Cameras. He's going to be covering all the rumors all offseason long. And if you want the best content in the game,
sir.
TikTok, Instagram,
Yes, sir.
Snapchat, what other platforms? MySpace, Zynga.
LinkedIn.
I do them all.
LinkedIn.
I do them all.
Go follow him at Noel at Noise by Noel, Mr.
Yes,
Noel
sir.
Sanchez, and the special guest.
Yeah.
Mr.
If you guys
Gary
like this
Lee.
layout, he's the brains behind it. He pays for all this stuff. So thank you from Mr. Gary Lee for joining us. We appreciate your CP3 takes. Then to my left over here, the super producer, Cody Loop. That's going to do it for this
Yes,
episode of Lakers
sir.
24/8 podcast. Subscribe, hit that like button. And until next time,
Go Lakers.
It's a parade. It's a
My city, yeah. Pop, pop.